Here's the handoff up the middle. Kendrick Foster veers across the field to the right. He's going again, maybe. 30, 25, 20. Down the right sideline. He's gone. Kendrick Foster strikes again.
And welcome into Illini Drive. You just heard the voice of Brian Barnhart from the airwaves of 1400 WDWS in Champaign-Urbana from the game on Saturday where your Fighting Illini took down Murray State by a score of 52-3. And Kendrick Foster really was the story of that game, a pair of 56-yard dashes for touchdowns out of the backup running back spot, which was certainly exciting for Lovie Smith and the Illini. I'm Kevin McCarthy, producer man, Will Gerard in studio with us, and I'm joined also by my co-hosts Jeff Ohmer and Peter Bailey-Wells. You can also follow us on Twitter, where Ryan Wilson, our social media guru, will interact with you there at Illini Drive. We'd be happy to chat with you there. We like when people chip in on social media. We run polls there, answer questions, get comments. It's a lot of fun. And also, another plug, you can call us and make my day if you call at 217-337-1071. Once again, that's 217-337-1071. Call me and tell me anything. Tell me what you ate for dinner tonight. Tell me your thoughts on Illini football. Whatever. 217-337-1071.
Tell us how your Labor Day has been, because, of course, it is Labor Day.
Absolutely. I hope you are not laboring. I am for all of you as I sit here and talk into this microphone.
I was going to say, shout out to all the Labor Day barbecues out there, including, I know my friends are enjoying themselves right now. Shout out to my friends enjoying their Labor Day barbecue. Shout out to the Labor Day barbecues across the country. Hopefully you are not, as Kevin said, putting in much labor on Labor Day.
Certainly. Unless it's drinking beer. Do good work there.
And you know, a little barbecue.
For sure,
barbecue
yeah.
meat, barbecue veggies, whatever your taste is.
Absolutely.
Right up my alley, guys. That's all I've been thinking about
Getting
all day long.
Jeff's mouth watering. Here we go.
Exactly.
We can talk about football, though, rather than barbecues. We can talk about barbecues all day.
Well, barbecues, football, and beer are sort of, they really they come together well, especially on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday evening in next week's case.
That's right. Well, but before we get ahead to next week, what about this week? We witnessed a pretty a shellacking, a bombasting, a domination.
Keep going. I like these words.
Just adjective. Pick your adjective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
They were blasted, destroyed, wrecked.
52-3. Like there was no.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of more words.
Stomping.
A stomping.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Bombardment of some sort. But it was also the first Lovie Smith.
It was
Lovie
lit.
Smith win. Yes, it was. Well,
it was, yeah.
Possibly.
The stadium was lit. Not so much the result. I mean, yeah, the result was lit. But
Yeah, the actual stadium will be lit on Saturday. But anyway, we're talking about Murray State. Yes. Let's start with some takeaways. How about you, Peter? Anything that you learned on Saturday or something that happened that you didn't expect?
I don't think I learned a lot because it was Murray State, but to the opener, Kendrick Foster is a legit backup, and
yes.
and if Keyshawn Vaughn goes down, it's not quite the hole that we might have thought it was in terms of last season when Josh Ferguson got hurt and they only had freshman Vaughn, and they're kind of like, well, he then busted an ankle in like that Minnesota game. Foster was getting carries, and they were like putting like Caleb Day in and running like wide receiver end arounds. Like, I don't know. It's good. It's good to see that they've got somebody back there, and it's good for Foster because he's somebody that was going to transfer in December. He said that on Twitter. His dad, of course, played football here, and so the family sat him down. This is how he puts it. The family sat him down and said, "Well, that's a degree you want to get. This is a school we love," and he's back. Lovie Smith pointed out today during his press conference that Foster was one of the brightest eyes in the room when he met the team, sort of indicating how much a refresh, a reboot would do for him.
And Lovie said in the post-game press conference he wasn't surprised by it. We, as the media, were all surprised by Kendrick Foster's outbreak game, whatever you want to call it. He wasn't surprised. He said these are things we've seen from him in practice. I followed up with that with Keyshawn Vaughn. He agreed, and I also asked Wes Lunt. He said the same thing. He said he's been doing this in practice, so while all of you guys and the fans may be surprised, we're not.
Right. I mean, this is... And Foster himself has talked about cutting down his body fat. He's gone from like 15 down to 11 or somewhere in the range of, 10%. And he's clearly faster, clearly shiftier. 56-yard touchdowns. It's not too shabby.
Nice day at the office.
I completely agree with you, Peter. I definitely think we learned how valuable it was for Kendrick Foster to return back to the university this year and play the backup running back role. behind Keyshawn, because in a game where Keyshawn really wasn't able to get things going, even in that I formation with Nate Eckert there at the fullback spot, Keyshawn was never really able to get into a rhythm. Although he had 17 carries, he only got 55 yards. He wasn't doing too much on the ground, but Kendrick was there to give the offense the boost and get them 2 exciting 56-yard runs, like you said, Peter. So from an offensive standpoint, you definitely learned that Kendrick Foster could be a legitimate secondary back for the Illini come big games like this upcoming Saturday against NC.
And to be clear, Keyshawn Vaughn is definitely still number one.
Oh, absolutely.
There should be no doubt about that. But this is just again, Saturday was a good indication that Illinois has a backup who can play. And honestly, Reggie Corbin was decent as the scat back too. So that they have pieces behind Vaughn. Forget 17 carries for 55 yards, or 49 yards. He's gonna be the number one guy, or should be, barring something miraculous the rest of the year.
No, he's still an absolute workhorse. Honestly, I think it was more about the run blocking. I didn't see the blocking there for him between the tackles. It seemed like he was getting shut down in the backfield a lot, whereas the couple times where Kendrick Foster bounced it outside, I think Keyshawn Vaughn could have taken those specific plays for touchdowns as well. I think he got a couple lucky breaks, and Kendrick made some moves happen. He got out there, ran for some big scores, but I think that Keyshawn Vaughn's lack of success had more to do with the offensive line's lack of run blocking, which shouldn't be too surprising to anybody. You know, when you lose Joe Spencer and you have to have 3 brand new guys in there starting, it's tough.
Including a true freshman in Darda Lee, who started somewhat admirably for a true freshman to start in their very first college game. That's a legit. That's a real thing. You deserve credit for getting yourself into that position. But yeah, I think you're totally spot on. On the very first play from scrimmage, Allegretti or Meganson, I think, and the right tackle Schmidt, I believe it was Austin Schmidt. The tackling guard collided on a pull block. So it's it's a perfect example. Like, they just didn't have all of their ducks in a row, which is okay because it's Murray State. But UNC comes along, we'll see how it goes. Jeff, we can jump away from the running game. Jeff, do you have any other takeaways?
I think I'm going to still focus on the offense here. One thing that I liked from Wes Lunt's game and just the passing game in general was how many players were able to get involved. Lunt threw it to, the list goes on, at least 8 names down here if you look at the whole receiving list. And I think that's something encouraging if you're an Illinois fan, just to know that anybody who's asked to be a receiver can be a playmaker as well. You're going to need to be called on and make big plays come a week when you're playing NC and Big Ten play upcoming as well. To see Malik typically get that long ball in stride and run it for a touchdown, that was really exciting just to see Lunt and him connect. And I think the receiving core and Lunt have a lot to work off of and gain from this week moving forward.
Yeah, I think the team missed that last year. They didn't really have a guy that could break into the secondary like that. I mean, Des Kane and Malik Turner were on the team. They're both really fast, and they have that potential to get into the secondary. We just didn't see it very often, which was always too bad because Wes Lunt has the huge arm. Everybody talks about it all the time. And with Hardy injured, there wasn't a guy that could really do that. And I wasn't sure if Malik Turner or Des Kane going into this year could do it or not. I think they both showed me that they have the type of speed and they have the ability to, not only do they have the speed to get out there, they can make those catches in stride. That catch that Malik made on the first one, that's a really difficult catch to make when you're about to fall over, you're running so fast.
We'll get back to that a little later in a funny way. But right now is a good opportunity to remind you that you're listening to Illini Drive on WPGU 1071, and it's brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. For tickets and information on the Illini, visit fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI-1. Once again, that's fightingillini.com or on the phones at 1-866-ILLINI-1 for more ticket information. And I think, both Turner and Kane looked good. Hardy looked good on the crossing route he had. I mean, he's got the speed that he sort of flashed before. And I think, we kind of talked about receiving yards and stuff in our pregame show on Saturday, and we talked about it a little bit before. But, these are 3 guys that could all have 600-700 yards receiving. Nobody is going to be a first-team All-Big Ten receiver, but those 3 guys are all very, could be 50 catches, 650 yards a year, and put together a nice little season for Wes Lunt. He had a 71% completion rating, I believe, on Saturday. No drops.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank goodness for no
right
drops. I don't know, the jug machine or somebody helped them out, but that was awesome. No drops. I mean, for a fan, for even just someone who likes watching clean football, thank goodness.
After last year, I think that's a really refreshing change of pace. The only thing that's concerning for me when I look at the wide receiving core is you don't have, like, you know, I'm a big Bears fan, so you don't have the Brandon Marshall that the Bears had for the few years. You don't have that extremely reliable, sure-handed receiver who's big and can really get it done, like in the red zone. Now, you do have Tyler White, and that's going to be the really interesting thing, is how good is Tyler White? And we didn't get to see a lot of him Saturday. I'll be interested to see what we see, you know, from him against, first of all, a big-time opponent like North Carolina, and then into the Big Ten season. He may not have the speed, but he definitely has the size and the hands. So we'll see.
Kevin, you bring up a good point, because that's one thing that I'm always wishing Illinois had come right up to the goal line when they really need a receiver to put in the finishing punch, especially if Keyshawn's not able to do it himself on the ground. We didn't really get to see that this weekend. I know Malik Turner was able to catch one right near the end zone, basically, but Illinois still struggled to get that final exclamation point and score that touchdown, and that's where a key receiver could come into a big play.
Yeah, I think they missed Geronimo Allison a little bit more than we thought, except for he still wasn't the most sure-handed receiver, but he had the size-speed combination, which was really nice. I still wish they had somebody more similar to that, and I think White could be that guy. We'll see what he develops into in the red zone. I don't know.
It's also worth, I mean, those tight ends and the two fullbacks, Nate Eckert and Austin Roberts, were both above-average blockers this weekend against Murray State. On Keyshawn's touchdown, Roberts they were in the I form, and Roberts just blew up the whole. I think he took himself with it. You know, like, I think the defender took out Roberts, but if you're a fullback, that's fine. You don't care. Like, as long as you get your guy out of the way, and Keyshawn just, you know, walked into the end zone. And on both of Foster's runs, and he said this funny thing today about both the tight ends and the receivers blocking well. He said that on his second one, it was kind of an off tackle, and he cut back and went up the right sideline and was gone.
Yeah.
And Justin Hardy threw a block on the edge, and he said that he went back to the sideline. And Hardy said, "Yeah, man, you owe me a steak dinner for that one." Like, no, but which is funny, but it's also very true. Like if they get those tight ends, if they get those receivers invested in blocking, and Foster was sort of laughing because he was like, "Yeah, like, you know, when we all buy in, you're blocking for somebody else on the outside. The ball gets distributed so much. There's no star in this lineup. So the fact that if you're working for everybody else, you know, you're going to get in the lineup, and then you're going to get your due." Mm-hmm. Right, Hardy's going to get his shot or whatever. So, I mean, that'll be really key. Obviously, the passing, and I totally agree with you, Jeff, and with you, Kevin, about the goal line presence in terms of the pass. But I think if you can get these guys blocking on first down when you're starting at your own 20 or 25 or 30 or whatever at the beginning of a drive, not just in the 4th and 1s and in the trenches and whatever, if you can get these guys blocking on jet sweeps and off tackle plays and you know, counters and stuff like that, that is going to be so key to setting up the pass.
And you talked about not having a go-to legitimate star in the passing game. I actually do think, outside of the goal line situation, that can be a good thing as well, because there is no, like, back to the Bears example, everybody knew where the ball was going on a tough 3rd and 7. It's going to Brandon Marshall, and it always was. I think that in this offense, I wouldn't call it like a no-name offense, because Keyshawn Vaughn's a stud, Westland's a stud, but amongst Justin Hardy, Tyler White, Malik Turner, and Des, I don't think that any of those players are far and away better than the others. I think they're all very solid. I think they're all reliable, and so far this year, sure-handed. We'll see how that continues. So I like that idea of not having someone that you need to depend on, because last year at times we saw it a lot, right? If Geronimo Allison got shut down, the offense was nothing. And so
totally.
Now this year you can't do that. You can't say, "Oh, if we go into Memorial Stadium and we shut down Justin Hardy, this offense has nothing." No, that's not true at all.
Yeah.
So it's good for them to have multiple weapons now.
Anything defensive wise, Kevin, that you liked?
Well, since
quickly before we jump to a break, give me a quick.
Real quick, and then a break, and I want to talk about this a little more actually.
Let
maybe.
it preview what we're going to get to. How about that?
I knew the defensive line was going to be good. I knew they were going to get after it just because the names are awesome. But the way I saw Carroll Phillips, DeJuan Smoot, Rob Bain get off the line and just get to work, and Chunky Clements for that matter, those boys got after it. And Jamel President.
Jamel President led the team in sacks. He had 2.
Yeah, those 5 were incredible. They were tenacious off the line. They could blow it up in the middle, and they could also swim around the outside. Smoot was going around those guys all day. Now, here's the thing. That's a crappy FCS offensive line. I'd like to see it against a Big Ten offensive line. Nonetheless, though, it was really, really fun to watch.
More of that and more some other stuff when we get back. There, you're listening to the Illini Drive on WPGU 1071.
Hail to the orange. Hail to the blue. Hail alma mater, ever so true. We love no other, so let our motto be victory. Illinois, varsity. Fighting Illini football season tickets start at only $99. Secure your seats today by phone at 1-866-ILLINI1 or online at fightingillini.com.
To our students that
Hail
showed
to the
up,
orange.
you were outstanding. Our team felt them from the start, throughout, and of course to our fans that showed up too. We'll need, for Memorial Stadium to be the home field that we need. Of course, we need that energy that we had this past week, and we know it will continue.
It's funny to me that as Lovie Smith talks about energy and excitement and how thankful fans, he sounds tired, bored, and like he doesn't care. But that's Lovie Smith, and I can tell you that he does care, and he did appreciate the support from the fans on Saturday, and they're looking forward to a full house this Saturday against North Carolina at 6:30. Welcome back into Illini Drive on WPGU 1071, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about right now is the game day experience on Saturday. I think if you could pull up Josh Whitman's tweet, Peter, that would be great.
I'd be happy to.
Yes. Josh Whitman's already, getting all the fans roused up, ready to go for the game, and people are expecting a big crowd. Some people are saying it could be filled to the brim. We'll see. Anyway, the words from Josh Whitman.
So Sunday, the Illinois athletic director tweeted, "This Saturday should be most electric atmosphere." He meant the most electric atmosphere since Rose Bowl season. That'd be 2007. We need everyone, all capitals, to make it happen. No excuses. Be in the house.
Students, if you're listening, Josh Whitman just called you out.
He wants you in the house.
You got to be
the
there.
House of Memorial Stadium.
Players are doing it as well. I just saw Keyshawn Vaughn tweeted something along the lines of the students need to come there
Get
and
out
support,
there.
get the tickets, come
All
out and
right.
support. So.
Well, here's the thing I'll say is against Murray State, it was probably Black Eye maybe 80% full.
Close to. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
even say 90. It was real close.
Maybe
the free
90%.
tickets helped.
Free tickets on Labor Day weekend, though, still. So a lot of students were out of town. So the fact that it was that full, I think, is impressive against the team that nobody cares about. So people are going to come just to see North Carolina, and they're going to come because some people think Illinois has got a chance to win. We'll talk about that more later, but I think it's going to be at capacity in the student section.
And I'll borrow a talking point from the venerable Illini Drive alum, Joey Gelman. You're at a Big Ten school. Why would you not go to the football game if they're playing North Carolina? Why would you not go to the football game if they're playing Murray State? I don't know if I agree with that line as much, but certainly
We'll go for a half.
North Carolina, this game is going to be, whether the result is what you want or not, regardless of the team you root for, this game is going to be, to borrow a phrase from the kids, lit.
It's going to be big time.
This game is going to be lit.
Dude,
6:30.
it's time to ball.
Exactly. It's time to ball out. Dewan Smoot said it last week. I mean, they're doing the pregame concert, the walk. They're handing out 5,000 Hail to the Orange flags. Everybody's
Hail
supposed
to
to
the
wear
orange.
There's no reason not to go. Now, Illinois is, as of recent, Jeff, a 9.5-point underdog?
9.5 points.
9.5. I mean, that's, but still, this defense, that could be a 12-3 game, right? That could be, I don't know, what's another reasonable football, 30-21. Those are close games.
Yeah.
Those are games that could be 1-on-1, 2 possessions. So that's not, people are maybe a little overly excited about this team, but even if you aren't, this is a game you should go to.
Yeah.
I think, regardless of whether you're an Illinois fan or not.
And I think you kind of got to just expect Illinois to keep the game somewhat close, having it at home, and with the fact that they just kind of got blown out by North Carolina last year toward the second half of that game. I don't think the spread is something to focus on at all and anything that should be taken note of. But I still think Illinois is going to keep the game a lot closer than people may be giving them credit for. And I think at the end of the day, what might make the difference is how many fans are there.
Absolutely, and I think you think back to the Lovie Smith Bears teams and his Buccaneers teams, they never got blown out. They always came ready to play, and they always put a good product on the field. Now, at times, the offense was abysmal, and the defense carried the load and all these things. Everybody knows the narrative, but his team was always ready to play, and they came in well prepared. And you can't say that about Bears teams since then. Under Trestman, it was not like that. So Lovie has an ability, I think, to really get his players ready to go and to get the absolute best out of them. He took some teams in Chicago that had very, very little talent, and they won a lot of games with him. And I think what we saw on Saturday was that was a game where players could have had a lot of nerves, right? Because it's their first game under the, with all this excitement, this buzz. People have been talking about them for 6 months. A lot of things could have gone wrong. And a lot of people on this radio show on Saturday morning said they thought mistakes would be made early on. There were very few mistakes. Lovie said that his team made some mistakes. I mean, yeah, if you're really deep into football, there were some blocks missed. There were some lapses in coverage in the secondary. But for the most part, there was obviously no big errors. They won by 49 flipping points.
Well, and we talked about it. No drops. There was like one play I can remember in the fourth quarter when some running back broke 5 tackles, but this wasn't a Tim Banks defense where just they're whiffing tackles left and right.
And there was only a couple of silly penalties, the running into the kicker.
Smoot had 3.
Yeah, Smoot had 3. There
2 offsides penalties and the running into the kicker.
Was there any false starts? I mean,
might have been 1 or 2.
There wasn't a lot of those messy penalties.
It was very clean.
Yeah, very clean game. So anyway, the point I'm getting at.
The kicker hit 7 extra points and a 48-yard field goal.
Yeah,
I mistakenly called him a freshman after the game. By the way, folks, if you watch the post-game media conference, the fool asking Lovie about his freshman kicker was yours truly. Chase McLaughlin is in fact a redshirt sophomore,
and Lovie's answer was, "Oh, we have a freshman kicker."
Yeah, he didn't even really twig to it. So
yeah. Anyway, what the point I'm getting at is Lovie's teams are always ready to go. Lovie's teams always play hard, and they make themselves competitive. And I think that this could be a very interesting game. And when people keep asking me about it, what I say is, hey, maybe you head into the halftime and North Carolina just sort of came out. They didn't have their best, but you're down a touchdown, right? It's 17-10 or it's 14-7. You hung around. That's all you got to do. And then when you got 60,000 energized fans behind you and a coaching staff as good as the staff they have now, anything's possible. And much, much crazier things have happened.
And I don't think that people should give North Carolina as much credit as I think they are being given.
Absolutely. This team's not as good as they were last year. This North Carolina team, I don't think
they are at all either. And I definitely look at Illinois as a better team this year than they were last year, at least from a coaching standpoint, you had to say.
I think they're a lot better.
I mean, I think that excuse me.
Wow, a little yawn on air.
Happy Labor Day.
Too many beers here.
Oh, no, that's absolutely not true. Get out of here, Kevin. What I was going to say was that team last year definitely was talented. It was just a question of, and this was another thing about Saturday, that was the first normal football game this team had played in 24 months, or 16 months if you want to count the end of the Beckman era. Because last year they were playing under the whole season was this cloud. You fire Beckman, and then Cubit's every game he's like, well, I'm playing for my job, and at the end of the season he's saying things like, no one cares about Illinois more than I do, and then they give him the 2-year extension for Northwestern. It
was a weird season.
They haven't played a regular game, and they said this in the week leading up. They haven't played a regular game, in the last 16 months. So, I don't know if I would say Illinois is more talented than last year. Maybe they're not less talented. I would say you could say that, but
they're not more talented, but they're much better coached, which brings out talent better.
Yeah,
maybe that's the way
probably
a
good way to put it.
That?
I don't know. I still don't think. I've been saying this all. I was saying this all weekend. I don't think that this Murray State game makes me think that the Illini are any more likely to beat North Carolina than they were prior to the game.
Yeah, but what did you predict the score was going to be?
I said 35-10.
Okay. I mean, did the 52-3 win didn't impress you? It didn't leave any impression on you that...
Murray State is the worst defense in the FCS.
Certainly, they're terrible. But there's nothing you saw that you didn't expect to see that impressed you?
Well, here's the thing. I didn't think to sort of break down my thinking, I sort of assumed that they would get a field goal against the first unit, which they did in the first half, right? And then
score a garbage time touchdown.
Murray State would score a garbage time touchdown against the 2s or the 3s. So the defense played about to the point that I expected. The offense just played better than I thought. I also thought that Lovie Smith was going to ease up on the gas. Des Kane's touchdown was on 4th down.
Yeah.
He was going for it, which is fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but that wasn't exactly what I expected in terms of game planning. So I don't know. Did they show? I like where the receivers are. I guess maybe that's a good no drops.
Here's one thing that I learned that I didn't know going in, because I predicted a 35-0 win because I thought they would ease up on the gas after that.
That was close to half. You almost had it for halftime.
And I honestly thought, I might be right here, or it might stay at 35-3 or whatever it was at half, because I wasn't sure if Illinois would do anything in the second half just because there would be backups in. But what I learned that I didn't know is that I thought that this Illinois team was going to be extremely well coached, and I thought as a result they wouldn't make many mistakes. This team is even better coached than I had anticipated, and that is what I learned on Saturday. That's my biggest takeaway, is this team is as well coached as any we've seen at Illinois. Maybe, I haven't been around that long, but in a long, long time.
In all my years at Illinois.
Yeah, back when I was just kidding, I am a kid. But so what I'm getting at is this team is very well coached, and when you got a really well coached team, you got a chance to win. And
that's fair.
I think that was my biggest takeaway. Are they about as talented as I thought? I didn't learn anything crazy on Saturday other than we learned about Kendrick Foster. We learned Malik Turner can really turn on the Jets. We learned some small things, but we didn't learn anything crazy about the talent. But I think we learned a little bit about the coaching staff and the players' execution.
I completely agree with you, Kevin. I was going to get to that point eventually here, and I think in a game against North Carolina, now getting forward to the one we'll have this next weekend, not making the big mistakes and beating yourself up is what could save you a couple points, a couple more drives, a couple more first downs, whatever it is. And Illinois really only made one mistake in my eyes, one big mistake this past Saturday, and that was when DeJuan Smoot roughed the punter for North Carolina, or not North Carolina, Murray State, extending their drive, giving them a first down. That's not something that they can do or afford to do against a team like North Carolina, but it's something they can do against a team like Murray State where they're going to learn from it and then make an improvement next week. I think as long as Illinois doesn't beat themselves up, they're going to put themselves in a great spot to end up on top.
And I don't think they will beat themselves up. I think you're exactly right. And I don't know, this isn't really a takeaway, but just another thing that impressed me was how careful they were with the ball. The ball got loose on that one weird exchange from Lunt and Vaughn, was it, right?
Yeah, where Vaughn recovered his own fumble.
Yeah. So that was the only really messy play. And the other thing is, on the flip side of the ball, defensively, we've been hearing over and over again about the Lovie takeaway thing. The team has bought into it.
2 interceptions on the first 2 series.
Yeah, and there should have been a third one.
Yeah, Hilton and Nickerson collided.
Yeah, Hilton and Nickerson hit each other big time. That was a weird play, but it should have been another interception. Point I'm getting at is they really have bought into this takeaway system. You look at those safeties, Hilton and Taylor Barton, and they were constantly ball hawking. They made some mistakes in the secondary as a result, but they were constantly looking to make big plays. The team, everybody was trying to grip it and rip it, or peanut punch it, we used to see back with Lovie's Bears teams. And so I think all of that's really exciting because all of these things that we heard about all off season that Lovie and Lovie preached and Hardy Nickerson preached and Garrick McGee preached, they actually came to fruition, and it wasn't all talk. Now they're actually doing it. And so I think we learned some things about this team on Saturday, which prepares them well for North Carolina.
And to me, I'm sorry, Kevin, do you want to finish?
I was just going to say, I know Peter doesn't think Illinois has a chance.
I just don't. Well, no, I think it'll be a competitive game. I just don't think they're going to win.
Well,
there's no reason it shouldn't be competitive. I just don't think they're going to win. That Illinois, UNC should have won this game against Georgia, by the way, in case you're of the opinion. They were up 24-14 in the third quarter and just totally collapsed without really much of an explanation. Yes, this is a top 25 team. Illinois is not a top 25 team.
No, they're not.
I'm not knocking them because this team, assuming no one gets injured, they could win 7 games. And if Jeff is lucky, maybe they'll win 8, and his prediction will be correct. But it's not. But they're not any better than they were on Saturday.
Yeah, but North Carolina has to travel, 800 miles, 1,000 miles, and come and play in an electric atmosphere in front of a fan base that has wanted to see a game like this for years and hasn't gotten a chance to. I don't know. I think that there's something special about this team.
The intangibles.
There are things you can't see, you can only talk about, and people like us can fool around with these ideas that maybe they're there, maybe they're not. But to me, there's something bigger there. There's something in that stadium on Saturday afternoon. There was something in Grange Grove. There's just there's an excitement, there's a buzz that has never been there before. And even amongst the players, didn't you sense it in the post-game press conference? I mean, these guys want to win. These guys are serious, and it's just something different, man. They're rallying around Lovie in a way that we've never seen an Illinois team rally around a coach before.
Well, they rallied around Bill Cubit, 52-3 against Kent State and 44-0 against Western, and went and got popped in the mouth in Chapel Hill last year.
Yeah, but I think
I'm just saying I don't know how different this is.
I think
they beat an FCS team, and they should have, and that's all. And that point is moot from there. That's what I think.
I guess the argument can't be decided until Saturday. The point I'm getting into
As
is...
Lovie Smith says, you're going to have to go to the game and show and see what happens.
Absolutely. That's what he told me, and that's what I guess you can tell me as well. But what I'm getting at is just that, I don't know, this staff is different. I don't think they're going to let themselves not play a competitive game.
Sure. And it'll be fun.
And there's no
Undoubtedly
doubt it's going to be fun. And I don't really know, because this is so silly to even say, but there's just something about this team. It's just one of those gut feelings I've got. I circled this game as soon as we hired Lovie, and I said, night game, North Carolina, Lovie Smith. There's going to be 50-some thousand people there, and I think Illinois is going to win. I just wrote it in a column the other day. I felt like an idiot writing it, but I really believe it, and I can't even tell you why. I know Jeff agrees.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, this is the one on. This is the
I'm
2-on-1.
loving what you have to say. Peter over here just can't stop shaking his head and thinking of reasons to fight against that.
Why don't we take a quick break, and we'll talk about this on the other side. We'll address
Plenty of North Carolina talk to come on.
Yeah,
Drive here.
we'll address the situation.
Stay tuned. We'll be back in a minute.
Hail to the orange. Hail to the blue. Hail alma mater. Ever so true. We love no other. So let our motto be victory. Illinois. Varsity. Fighting Illini football season tickets start at only $99. Secure your seats today by phone at 1-866-ILLINI1 or online at fightingillini.com.
Malik? Yeah. I don't know. I really haven't looked.
Have you seen the replay of that catch?
I haven't. Yeah, I'll have to watch it.
Welcome back to Illini Drive. That was Wes Lunt postgame being asked a quite amusing question by a reporter about the size of Malik Turner's hands.
Know what that means?
On that
big
catch,
gloves.
On that catch that Kevin was referring to earlier, and Wes, just the look on his face. I mean, you're excited after games, you're in a good mood, but he sort of caught him by surprise, and he sort of spluttered and was kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, that's not really something I focus on. So
I don't spend a lot of time holding his hand, Wes.
Right. Thought we'd play that because this is just a moment of pure amusement. But we're here to focus on Illinois UNC, not exactly on Malik Turner's dexterity skills. So
yeah, we're gonna
let's go to that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Peter. But definitely a fun conversation to throw around. Anyway, so this is the question I want to pose for this segment, and I'd love for you guys to get involved with us at Illini Drive on Twitter or call us here 217-337-1071. Once again, 217-337-1071. So here's the hypothetical question: if Illinois was to win, then they have to blank. And I think we can take this in a number of ways. So we can start on the offensive side of the ball. So offensively, if Illinois was to win on Saturday against Illinois, they have to blank, or we need to see a great game from X.
Well, first off, Illinois went over North Carolina. Illinois is not going to play Illinois.
Did I say Illinois?
Just wanted to clarify the listeners there.
Might be, guys. I'm really tired. I haven't slept much.
Hey,
anyway.
We're almost there, Kevin. So I think if Illinois is going to win on Saturday, for the offense at least, it's all going to start up front with the line. Personally, I'd like to see Joe Spencer back in there, have the captain center.
That would be good.
Holding the house and down for everyone on that line, and getting Keyshawn Vaughn going early is going to be key as well. I don't think Illinois can afford to be one-dimensional at all in this game. They need Wes Lunt to be dangerous on maybe a second and long or a third and long in some situations, but they'll also want to rely on Keyshawn or Kendrick to get big yardage on first and second down to set up an easier third down conversion as well. So it starts up front, and then from there, that should set up success. And obviously, it's a lot easier said than done, and we'll see what the line can do.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to say. Is I think the offensive line needs to have a really, really good game, and they need to take the tape from this Murray State game and make some adjustments. There were some problems with the run blocking, which I think was to be anticipated, like you mentioned, without Captain Joe Spencer playing center and with a couple of newbies in there. Hopefully Spencer can be back and healthy. We're not sure yet. And then hopefully Allegretti and Megginson can play. I don't know. I don't want to say, not that they had terrible games, but I hope that they can really watch the film and learn something from it and have better games. And I think if they do, it kind of trickles down to the rest of the team or to the rest of the offense. And I think that if Keyshawn Vaughn and Kendrick Foster don't have a good game on the ground, I think this game's impossible to win. I think you have to be two-dimensional in this game. And with the way that this offense works, especially against a better team, for the passing game to be successful, the running game needs to be successful. So I think it's really important that Keyshawn Vaughn and Kendrick Foster, because Keyshawn Vaughn's not going to be able to take a beating for 40 carries here. So if they can ride both of those guys, has between 17 and 20 carries, and Kendrick hops on another 8 or 10, something like that, and they can have successful games, get 150, 175 yards on the ground, something like that between the two of them, I think that really opens up the play-action game for Wes Lunt. We saw him in that play action on Saturday, and I know it was against Murray State, and people will always say that, but he looked really good, faking those handoffs and even moving to his right. You're never going to see him move to his left, but he did drop back and move to his right very well a couple times, which was exciting to see. So I think if the running game does well, I think there's huge opportunities in the pass game off of play action, but if the running game doesn't go well, which, like you said, Jeff, starts up front, so if the line doesn't have a good run blocking game, this game's going to be really hard to win.
And it's worth noting that I felt like, and I have no evidence to back this up necessarily other than just having watched all the games, been at all the games, he had like at least one should have been an interception, but a defender dropped it per game last year.
At least one.
Right.
I think
he had
many times.
Maybe 2 a game. I don't know, however many. And he had only really half of one on Saturday where he kind of threw it across the middle and it kind of bounced up to a defender, kind of trapped it kind of thing. And so that, again, that plus no receiver drops, that's the kind of game that Wes is going to have. Wes and his receivers are going to have. I think Illinois' corners in secondary are going to have to really step up this week. Switzer from North Carolina last year. I don't know how many of you...
Oh, my gosh. We all remember that
Ryan
name.
Switzer. I don't know how many of you Illini fans remember. He set in a UNC return yard record with 168 punt return yards last year and just eviscerated the punt return and added like a 30-yard touchdown on top of it. And it's the kind of guy that, he's like a Mikey Dudek, 5'10", got some wheels, got some hands, can just get out there and catch the ball and move.
Faster than Dudek, though. He's quick.
Well, Dudek is quick. I mean, that's a move point.
Sure, maybe Dudek is quick, but Switzer is fast. I think that Dudek has...
That's a good point.
Dudek has unbelievable, I like this word, shiftiness in the slot.
Yeah.
He can really make people... First of all, he can make people miss once he catches the ball, but actually before that, he can... shake off a cornerback pretty quickly right off the ball. Where Switzer really excelled,
he's a burner.
Is that he's a burner. He got out on those kick returns and he was gone. And then he also broke into the secondary on a couple of deep passes, if I remember correctly. Was he number? It was number 8 or 9. I can't remember.
He's number 3, Ryan.
Oh, he's number 3. I thought he was 8 or 9.
He wore an arm sleeve. He had the whole thing.
Yeah, he was just a baller. That kid can. He's a stud.
But I think that's probably going to be. I mean, I agree with the running game. I think that'll matter. But I think in terms of for Illinois to win the game, it's going to have to be on defense because if the secondary, the D-line is going to step it up. They're just not. It would be stunning if they didn't. They're just too good not to. And I don't know. One of my bigger takeaways, and I didn't mention this earlier, but I feel comfortable with that linebacking group. Hardy Nickerson is the real deal.
Yeah, they're really good. But the thing about that defense is that it all starts with that front 4 pass rush. When you only rush 4, now they did send some blitzes at times, but when you primarily are rushing 4, your front 4 needs to be really, really good, and Illinois is. But if you don't get enough pressure on the quarterback, then you're leaving your secondary out there for way longer than they want to be covering wide receivers and tight ends. And so they need to get after the quarterback because guys, the North Carolina, what's the word I'm looking for? Receivers and running backs.
They're skill guys.
Skill positions, there it is. Their skill position players are a lot better than, obviously, Murray State's. And so their ability to break into the secondary is much higher. And so the front 4 needs to get after the quarterback. And if they're able to do that, hopefully Barton and Hilton won't have to hang out there too long in the secondary.
To say the least, I just hope that Lovie's group at least save the notes from Bill Cubitt's group on this game, and specifically just on Switzer and his skills, and how much of a threat he could be for Illinois on special teams and defense. Something that I think will be interesting to watch during the game is if the defensive line is able to get some pressure on North Carolina, how is their quarterback Mitch Trubisky going to respond to that? It didn't seem that he had the strongest game of the season last week against Georgia. That's obviously a really strong team as well coming out of the SEC. Trubisky's a junior quarterback, I believe, made his first official start.
Yeah, well, because last year, y'all might remember Marquise Williams was the
Stud.
Yeah, stud for UNC, stud, with emphasis on the D, stud, for UNC. So, I mean, yeah, Trubisky, he's right. He'll be a question mark. He could play well, could not. I mean, yeah, he had, 16 incompletions, 24 for 40 with 156 yards and no TDs. He averaged like 4 yards a pass. Yeah,
the longest was only 23 yards as well. So
right.
If NC's able to, or if Illinois is able to limit how effective NC is, at least on the run game or pass game, that would really help from a defensive standpoint.
And we can't talk about UNC without talking about Elijah Hood, because he's the star on that offense. Switzer's good, right? Switzer's like an above-average college skill guy, but Elijah Hood is like a legit all-conference. He can 129 yards against Illinois last year.
Well, Ryan Switzer was an All-American last year, I think.
No, he wasn't. Maybe for returning kicks. Not a receiver. Can we check
keep
that?
going. Yeah, keep going on Elijah
But
Hood.
I mean, all I was going to say is just like to the if you put it all on Hood, I would take Elijah Hood versus Illinois' defensive line if that's the only battle. You know what I mean? Like if that's going to the secondary, if the secondary can just limit Trubisky and the receivers, I'll take that. Like Hood versus Smoot and Rob Bain, who was again, another beast. Lovie pointed him out in the press conference, and Lovie doesn't do a ton of individual praise, but he was like, Rob Bain, really, really good. Eating up blocks. I mean, he's double teamed all the time. He's just a solid piece of human in the middle there. You were saying, was Switzer an All-American last year?
Oh, yeah, Switzer was an All-American
at wide receiver.
But that's the question, though. I'm trying to look. Was he... Come on, give me the special teams.
Because he's an exceptional returner.
Yeah, he might be just as a kick returner. Now, of course, I can't find... He wasn't in the first-team receivers, so he probably... I
was going to say, because Corey Coleman and Josh Doxson both got drafted in the first round, and there's no way he wasn't over either of them.
Yeah, those were the two that were the starting wide receivers for the All-American team. So, yeah, he must have been as a kick returner. Anyway, yeah, you're right. Elijah Hood's the real guy to look out for. But after what happened last year, I think for Illinois fans, they're going to circle Ryan Switzer just because that was traumatizing last
fair.
year.
Yeah, sure.
But one thing that is encouraging is we've heard Lovie Smith say it, I think at least twice now, if not 3 times, that Julian Hilton is the fastest player on the team and can jump the highest, is the most athletic.
As fast as anyone on the team and can run as fast as anyone on the team and can jump higher than anyone on the team.
That's a good thing to know that he'll be back there in the secondary, hopefully looking out for Switzer. Now, the thing that I'm concerned about with Ryan Switzer is that you have a very inexperienced player in Julian Hilton. He came out and impressed in his first game, but one mental lapse in a game like this can be the difference between winning and losing, and you miss one read, right? You come up on a play-action fake maybe to help the linebackers in the run. Yeah. You bite early. Switzer comes out of the slot. Breaks deep into the secondary. Taylor Barton turns his head and goes, oh, God, no. I'm not catching him.
Yeah.
And so that's my biggest fear is just the inexperience. I trust Taylor Barton back there, and Julian Hilton is a playmaker, and I like that guy a lot, but I don't know. The inexperience is slightly concerning. And before I say anything else, once again, I just want to remind you that you're listening to Illini Drive right here on WPGU 107.1, brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. For tickets and information on the Illini, visit fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI-1. Once again, fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI-1 for more ticket information.
I think somewhere else where the Illini are going to have a lot of success, or at least be better than NC, is the special teams game as well. not only because Switzer's involved and he's most likely going to be there for the kick and punt return, but just because I think in last year's game, a lot of the momentum was taken away from what NC was able to do on the special team side of the ball, and what Illinois wasn't able to stop them from doing on that side of the ball. So I'm really interested to focus in on specifically the special teams and see how field position plays a big role in this game too.
Yeah, special teams is hugely important in a game like this because as an offense, you go out and score, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, after a long drive against a team that's much better than you, or not much better, but that is better than you, and you're getting beaten up a little bit. You get over to the bench, you finally get to have a rest, and you want to talk through with your coaches about that drive, and you look up on the big board and you're watching Ryan Switzer run for a touchdown, and you're thinking, all right, in about 90 seconds we got to get back out there and do this again. You just can't do it. And while this team has some depth, we think it has some depth that we saw in Saturday's game, I don't know if they have enough against a team like North Carolina. So the defense is going to have to get out there and do some work, and in order for them to do that, special teams can't be giving up long plays to Ryan Switzer.
And it's worth noting, per North Carolina's media guide, Switzer was a 2-time All-American punt returner rather than kick returner, because I guess they pick one of each, punt and kick.
That's interesting.
7 touchdowns in his career, which is one behind the NCAA record held by
Devin Hester.
Anthony. Nope.
Oh.
You want to guess? Or you want me to tell you? It's 2 names. One you won't know. One you will know. The one you won't know is Anthony Perkins out of Oklahoma.
Darren Sproles.
Nope. Think better known for being a receiver in the NFL than being a returner. Although he was a good returner.
Kansas City Chiefs player. I'm just forgetting his name.
No, you're thinking of good old what's his
4-letter
face?
last name.
Yeah, but that's not him. I'm trying to remember what that guy's name is. But
what NFL team did he play for?
He played for several, including the Chargers, Dolphins, Patriots, and Broncos.
The Chargers, Dolphins.
Best known for the latter two.
What were the latter two?
The Patriots and the Broncos.
Patriots and the Broncos.
You got 30 seconds, I'm telling you.
Just tell me right now.
Producer man, Will Gerard knows. You want to tell us, Will?
I'm going to guess it's Peter's number one player here, Wes Welker.
You got it. Used to love it. Yeah. He was at Texas Tech. He was a great returner. This is a quick.
Didn't he fumble a really
quick Patriots story for you? Go. Well, you want to rub it in?
He muffed the punt in the AFC Championship game against the Colts
in 2008.
Yes,
it was the year after the undisputed season.
That was not a good play. Anyway, go whatever you're going to say.
Well, all I was going to say was
I like rubbing in Patriot points.
Yeah, that's all right. It's okay. Belichick picked up Welker off waivers or as a free agent because when he was playing for the Dolphins, he had a game. He must have. I don't know if he scored twice or if he had like one big one and a score, but he was burning the Patriots on kick returns. He was an okay receiver. He was fine, but he kept getting hurt and he was like a slot guy. And the year prior to the big record-breaking season with Randy Moss, Belichick and the Patriots got burned by him when they played the Dolphins. And Belichick has reported, sort of on the record that he sort of went I got to get that guy. I need him for my team. So, fun fact. Yeah, but he was at Texas Tech. He was a great returner, I guess, apparently, according to the stats. I didn't, 2001 to 2003 was not really 2003 wasn't my high point of watching college football, or Texas Tech in particular. But Wes Welker and Antonio Perkins of Oklahoma.
That's an interesting thing, and I think then we'll continue this conversation back after that fun little sidetracking. I want to ask you, Peter, what did you see from the Illini special teams as a whole? You can answer that, but also more specifically, how about kickoff coverage? What did you think of their job?
Well, just to point out quickly, it's also worth noting the Illini would have had a punt return touchdown if not for a block in the back call.
Yeah, dude, that was sweet.
Darius Mosley took it to the house.
Yeah.
Very obviously a block in the back. But Darius Mosley took it to the house. I actually thought the kick and punt return coverage were both quite good. Julian Jones seemed to be all the way down the field on everything.
They stayed in their lanes really well.
Yeah.
There was never a scary moment of he's going to break it deep. They got him inside the 20 a couple of times.
Part of it, I think, is they have this sort of slew of sophomore, junior non-starters
that are really athletic and really want to make a name for themselves.
Totally, yeah, exactly. Which is exactly who you want playing on special teams. The part of the problem with the Tim Beckman era, with the first few seasons where I think when Zook left, they had one returning defensive back or something like that. Eaton Spence was the only defensive back who was not a freshman, which is crazy. So they just had all of these guys that should have been playing on special teams playing in the secondary, and then they didn't start them. Bentley didn't get to play special. I mean, he was a returner, but he wasn't, on kickoff or anything because he had to start.
Yeah.
So you can't have that guy playing 60 snaps. So anyway, now that they have that, I thought their kick coverage, their punt and kickoff coverage was quite good. I don't think there were no big plays.
I was really pleased with the kickoff coverage. Well, actually, not even the coverage, but just the kickoffs themselves.
Yeah.
Frank's ability to pin them deep
Quite good.
in the end zone or just completely out of the end zone is important, I would say, just to take the ball out of any playmaker's hands potentially and just have the offense automatically just start right there at the 25 now, right?
Frayne had a good game. That was actually somebody that no one really talked about at all. He had a couple really
nice punts,
good punts. That one weird one that they got downed at the 1 yard line for the other guy calling a fair catch. That was
a weird play.
Frayne had a good game. 3 touchbacks, quite a few decent punts. No, as I like to call them, Shankopotamus. I didn't find myself saying that about Frayne at all. So.
Yeah, and the nice thing about, you mentioned it, Ryan Frayne kicking it deep into the end zone, you want to make that kick returner have to make a decision. Because if he fields the kick at the 1, he's got to go and he's in go mode. It's great when a returner catches it, looks, and has to think about if he should go or not. Because if you're starting to think about whether you're going to go or not,
it's not going to be a good return.
It's not going to be a good return. You should have taken the touchback. And so, I was very impressed with Frayne. He's got a boot.
And when it comes to that, just going off that point, you want to catch the kickoff man stepping backwards as opposed to running forwards, and getting all his momentum going into whatever play he's making. And frankly, last year, that's what they weren't able to do with Switzer. He was able to just get free and really use that speed. So if Frayne's able to pin, I'm going to keep on saying Switzer because that's all we know for right now, but the North Carolina return man backward, deep into the end zone at least, take away that play a lot.
Yeah, and I think that what's so interesting about this whole conversation, I know some people get bored with talking special teams. They think it doesn't really matter.
Loses games like this.
It absolutely does win or lose games like this. And a year ago, we had nothing positive to say about Bill Cubitt's special teams units.
Taylor Zaleski was okay.
He was okay, but overall, they made a lot of stupid mistakes week in and week out, and it got really annoying. Just like little dumb penalties.
It was the same way under Tim Beckman.
Yeah, kicking balls out of bounds, just silly things that Lovie Smith just won't let happen. He has very little to do with the special teams, but he's the man at the top of all this, and he's just not going to let those mistakes happen, because if they do, then you don't get to play anymore. I mean, like DeJuan Smoot ran into the kicker on that punt. Anybody else, well, it's DeJuan Smoot, so he's fine. But anybody else is going to get not screamed at. They're just going to get the Lovie look. He's just going to look at them and point, and it's just like, if I ever do that again, he might actually kill me. So
were either of you in the room when Wes was talking about Lovie Smith and saying, he rarely raises, doesn't yell, but when he raises his voice, to listen, or he says something really sort of like not cryptic, but kind of like, whoa, like they respect the crap out of him. Like he doesn't, there's a scuffle at practice and Lovie just raises his hands like sort of Jedi, and then all of a sudden everyone stops moving.
Hardy Nickerson said that there was that one breakout a couple weeks ago, and Lovie just sort of raised the hand, and that was that.
Yeah.
He said nothing similar has happened since.
Right.
That was the one skirmish or whatever you want to call it.
This is not a Rex Ryan team.
No,
guys.
You are not allowed to get in fights. You are not allowed to do these things because Lovie will just raise the hand, look at you, and that is that. He's got great control of this team. It's fun to watch.
It's Lovie's world, and those players are just
living in it.
I like that a lot.
It's Lovie's world.
That's a good quote. Throw that one on.
And again, I mean, this all goes back. I think I was talking about this on the pregame show, but maybe even during Illini Drive. The theme of the year: competency running amok in the Illinois athletic department.
Yeah, I forgot that was your little quote.
Competency running wild everywhere. It's everywhere.
And it needs to, now back to just specifically football talk, it needs to run amok when you're playing in a game like this. If you're not really solid in all three phases against a team that's, I don't want to say significantly better than you, but definitely a bit better than you, if you're not competent in all three areas of the game, then you're just not going to do well. You're not going to win a game unless all three phases and we could even say the fourth phase because we need these fans.
Yeah, that's right. Baby.
But really the three phases on the field, you have to be really solid and you can't make many mistakes in any of those areas. And I trust Lovie Smith's team to not.
I agree. I think we should leave it there. What do you think? We'll be back on Wednesday. We can talk a little bit more.
Yeah, I think on Wednesday we'll have a lot more talk about the game specifically. We'll have a lot more North Carolina talk, really breaking down X's and O's. Today was a lot of preliminary talk as the game is, still, 5 days away? Yeah, 5 days. So Wednesday, get into more predictions, get into really talking about the X's and O's and the matchups, and there's a lot to talk about there, so I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But if you didn't know, we now broadcast this show 5 days a week, which is fun. So follow us on Illini Drive. We interact with you there, and then every single day, Monday to Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. It's a lot of fun. Make sure to tune in. Do we have any other final notes? Check out our website, dailyillini.com, if you missed anything at all from today's show. We'll have everything posted up after that. Peter, you got anything else?
Jeff? I always do, but we only have an hour, so we'll talk about,
Yeah,
about it
we
on
got
Wednesday.
to talk about it. How about that?
Okay.
Listen in tomorrow. You won't hear us tomorrow. You'll hear Team 2. You'll hear us again.
You'll hear the backups. No, I'm just kidding.
Definitely not the
I'm
backups.
joking. They're great. They're actually fantastic. A great team. Really listen in. They're going to have plenty of fun on Illini Talk as well. So, same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. We're looking forward to it. And we will see you Wednesday. Drive home safe.